Hi friends! If you're currently working towards a financial goal or you have a financial goal in mind but you're not really sure how to achieve it, then this video is for you. I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. I'm literally just a girl who's trying to live her best life, which I need money to do. In the past few years, I've gone from being a broke college student asking my parents for $20 every week to becoming a six-figure earner, building a $20,000 rainy day fund, buying my own car, moving out on my own, and completely supporting myself independently, except for the toilet paper that my mom gives me. I've achieved all these financial goals using the same strategy that I used to save my first $1,000 when I was a college student. I'm currently using this strategy to pay off $30,000 of student loan debt, and I plan to use this strategy to become a property owner one day. Basically, it hasn't failed me yet, so I figured it's good enough to share for anyone looking for simple steps to follow to achieve any financial goal. If you're new here, I'm Camilla. I'm all about designing a well-rounded life. I document life in my 20s as it pertains to my personal, professional, and creative pursuits. And I feel like in your 20s, a big part of designing a well-rounded life is setting yourself up financially to be able to live the life that you want. Okay, the first step in my strategy to achieve any financial goal is to think about your rich life. This is a concept that I got from Ramit Sethi. I would highly recommend reading his book, Your Rich Life, or watching his various shows on Netflix. The exercise he describes is sitting down and journaling and thinking about where you want to live, what you want to eat, the activities that you want to do, what you want to be wearing, who you want to spend that time with, and really get specific into the actual life that you would want if money were not an object. You can think about this as like your ultimate goal, or you can think of it as your rich life for a certain moment. So when I first did this exercise and I set my first financial goal of saving $1,000 when I was in college, all I was thinking of was that I was going on a study abroad trip that summer, and I wanted to have enough money to be able to travel to different places while I was doing my study abroad in France. So I thought of the places I might want to go, the experiences that I would want to have there, and the second part of the exercise is looking to see how much those things cost. So I think at the time when I set this goal, it was only like a few weeks before I was going on the trip, so I didn't have that much time to work with, and I settled on if I had $1,000, that should be enough for me to backpack around on the weekends. But if you're thinking of this as a larger goal, like somewhere you might want to live, then like look on Zillow in the locations that you would want to live, the types of homes you would want to be in or apartments, and look and see how much those actually cost. If you're a person that really enjoys going out to eat at restaurants, or you don't want to feel guilty about that latte that you get every day, factor those costs in and you can actually see how much your dream life costs. I think that sometimes we don't allow ourselves to go there because we don't want to be disappointed or we think it's off limits. Let's not disappoint ourselves by thinking or dreaming of things that we may not be able to have. But what I found when I do this exercise is it makes my dream life or my rich life seem so much more attainable. Like I realized that my entire dream life, if I could buy everything that I wanted in the world, have all the experiences, travel the most luxury places as many times I want a year, have the dream home that I want, it would cost $300,000 a year. Now, $300,000 is a lot of money, but it doesn't feel unattainable to me. And when I have a number in mind like that, then I can work towards, okay, how do I get there? And maybe I don't start with $300,000, which is not what I've done at all, but I can take steps year after year to get closer to that. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's move on to the next step. After you've gotten a really clear idea of what your financial goal is or what your rich life is, next what you need to do is get just as clear about your current financial situation. Basically, you need a snapshot of what your current finances are so that you can look at your current finances and your ideal finances and identify the gap and start thinking about how you might close that gap. But in order to do that, you have to have an accurate and clear picture of your current finances. I don't know a better way to do this than a budget tracker. And I think the best way to do this is kind of like a financial audit of the past 3 to 6 months 3 months if you have a stable, steady income, 6 months if you're self-employed or you have a more fluctuating income, just to get an idea of the money coming in and the money going out, and where all of your dollars and cents are coming from and going towards. I have a budget tracker that I use, and every time I get paid, I add up all of the money that I've spent and I separate it into different categories. So if I made money, where did it come from? Was I spending this on groceries? Was this shopping? Was it necessities? Was it gas or transportation? Let me know if you guys would want this budget tracker that I've actually been making this for like the past 7 years now. So I think it might be good enough to share with people, but it's what I've been using and I share it with my friends for them to use and stuff too. And for me, it just really gives me a crystal clear picture of my finances, and it helps me do something which is important for the next step. If you're someone that mostly uses like your debit or credit cards, then it's really easy to just go back and look at your past bank statements, like take a day and look at the past 3 months and write it all out. Or if you don't really spend from the same accounts all the time, or you use cash a lot, then you might just want to start today committing to the next 3 months of tracking your expenses from today moving forward. So step 3, we're ready to actually take action towards achieving those goals. So once you know your money coming in and your money going out and where every dollar and cent is going, these become levers that you can play with to help support your financial goals more. So once you have that financial audit and you see the gap between where you are now and where you want to be financially, you can start looking at your financial audit or your budget tracker to see where you are willing to cut back in some areas in order to support those financial goals, or where you may need to make more money in order to reach those financial goals. So if you did your financial audit and all of your money was going to necessities, you may not be able to cut back any more on the money that you're spending month to month. And maybe that means you need to find ways to make more money. This was the case for me when I was saving my first $1,000. I was in college, I lived on campus, I had a meal plan. All of my spending money, which wasn't a lot, was going towards things I couldn't really avoid paying for or would significantly lessen my quality of life. I wouldn't be able to go out with my friends and stuff. So what I decided to do was make more money. I was I can't really cut back on these areas, or I'm not really willing to. So how can I add more income? And what I did was pick up more shifts at my part-time job. And I calculated okay, if I want to come up with this extra $1,000, I need to pick up more shifts here. And based on whatever my hourly rate was at the time, I needed to work this many hours in the next 6 weeks in order to have $1,000 before it was time to go on my study abroad trip. This is really going to vary person to person. You might be in a phase where you can cut back on certain areas of spending in order to put money towards another goal. Another example, this is a smaller financial goal, but my birthday is coming up in a few months and I want to have some extra spending money for if I want to get my hair done or something. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but I figured it would be good to set $1,000 aside for that. Now, I'm at a stage where I do have a little bit more flexibility in the money coming in and where I spend it. So I looked at my finances last month and decided I think I can come up with an extra $400 a month if I just am a little bit more restrained on the groceries that I get every week, if I say no to a couple more outings with friends in order to reallocate that money to whatever I want to do for my birthday. So it really just depends on your specific financial situation, but once you have it all written out, it's so easy to see where you want to cut back or if you just need to make more income. And I just want to add a caveat here. I know that sometimes saying make more money can come off not in the best way. I think because of my background with my parents being small business owners and just the vast amount of work that they've done or ways that they've made money in their businesses. I genuinely think that you can make money from doing anything, and in my own experience, as I've started making money on my own and supporting myself, I have offered like services in so many ways of freelancing that can help me make a couple $100 like whenever I need to. So if that's something you'd be interested in, like side hustles or how to make additional income or just make more money, let me know and I'd be happy to make a video on that from my experience. And also, if you're thinking about this as someone who is designing their dream life and thinking about where you might want to live, for example, you might realize like if you want to live in a luxury apartment in a major city, you have to make a lot of money in order to be able to do that. And maybe the career path that you're on currently doesn't allow that. And I think that's a good time to take a step back and see like, okay, well, is this where I want to be? What would I need to do in order to make more money in this field? Is there an adjacent field where I could do similar things and apply the skills I have, but make a little bit more money? And that's a whole separate career conversation, which I'm happy to have as well, because this is something that I have done in my own life too. I also want to call out that sometimes as you're thinking about your financial goals, there might be some other underlying steps that you need to take before you do that. So an example is moving out. That was one of the goals that I had for myself, but I knew I didn't want to just move out and not have the proper safety net for me. That would just cause way too much anxiety. In order to move to where I was, I needed to make a certain amount of money. It took me a few years to be able to make that amount of money to move out in a place that I really wanted to move to. But even when I was making enough money to afford where I wanted to live, I didn't go rent an apartment yet. I waited months so that I could build up my rainy day fund, so I knew that I had enough money to cover rent for a certain amount of months if I were to lose my job or something sudden came up. And I think that's an important step as well. Some financial goals require other financial goals before you can actually achieve them. So those are all the steps. I just want to offer a couple more examples to you guys of different financial goals that I've used this strategy for. So one of them is travel. If you've seen any of my travel vlogs, you know that I enjoy a luxury travel. I've never flown first class before, but that's a goal that I have for the future. But I always try to get the best seat that I can on the plane. I want to be comfortable, and I love staying in decked out resorts when I travel, or really nice hotels and huge rooms with scenic views. And that's not something I can do all the time, but basically in order to do one of those trips a year, I have to look at my finances. Maybe that means saying no to some other smaller trips with friends, or maybe that means cutting back in other areas of my life, like not going out with my friends every weekend in order to be able to have this trip. And it all depends on like what your priorities are person to person. For me, I would rather have that trip and miss out on those couple of weekends with friends or some of those smaller trips, but maybe that's not the priority for you. But that was something where I saw exactly where I could pull back in my finances. I have a row in my budget that's for like social expenses, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna cap this off at a lower number so that I can use the additional money to go towards a travel fund. And currently the goal that I'm working towards is paying off $30,000 in student loan debt. My goal is to pay it all off in the next 2 to 3 years. And I looked at my finances when I was thinking about moving out. And this is what I mean, where you can pull different levers in order to work more efficiently towards your financial goals. So one thing I did to work towards my financial goal of paying my student loans off was buy a really old used car. Last year, I needed to get a car because my old car died. Although I had the money to buy a newer car and pay a car note, I knew it was really important for me to work towards paying off my student loans every month. And so I opted to save up to get an older used car so that I didn't have to pay a car note every month. And instead, the money that would have been going to that car note is going towards my student loans. My goal this year is to pay $10,000 of it off. And right now I'm paying $400 a month towards it, which adds up to $4,800 for the year. And then additionally, the money that I get from bonuses from work is going towards student loan payoffs, even though one day I hope it goes towards a Christian Dior saddlebag. But I'm willing to put that off right now so that I can pay off my student loans. And it is a hassle having an old used car. I have an old like 2005 car. There are issues sometimes, but for me right now, for the financial goals that I'm working towards, it is the best decision for me. Also, after I pay off my student loans, I hope to get a newer car. And because my student loans will be paid off, I'll have a better credit score and I'll have a lower interest rate on whatever car I get. So that's what I mean when I say like sometimes doing things in a certain order makes more sense. So that's my full strategy for achieving any financial goal. It's literally worked for me countless times over the last few years, and it's working for larger goals as well. If it stops working, I'll let you know. I hope the examples I gave helped solidify your understanding a little bit more. If you feel comfortable sharing in the comments below, let me know a financial goal you're working towards, or if you have any tips for anyone else. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something, and I will see you in the next one. In the meantime, don't forget to spend time creating. Bye.